Good morning, everyone. I'm Reverend James Ray. I'm the senior pastor of Second Baptist Church in Boulder, Colorado. You will be receiving your official welcome by Mr. Eric Finistad, who is the principal of Silver Creek High School. Thank you for that. Resolving endorsement back there, okay? We are assembled here today in unity. Unity is defined as the state of being united or joined as a whole, oneness in mind and feeling. I think it's safe to say that many of us know and believe that Dr. Martin Luther King's life and legacy has in some way affected us all, ranging from maybe just a simple feeling of curiosity to that of commitment. And our coming here together today to celebrate and pay tribute to Dr. Martin Luther King is indicative of our desire to send a message. In other words, it's indicative of our desire to communicate our unity. Dr. King once said, people fail to get along because they fear each other. And they fear each other because they don't know each other. And they don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. Today, we are communicating with each other. Today, we communicate unity, solidarity through song, dance, and dialogue. In fact, our opening song is entitled, "This Little Light of Mine." And I think you should know this, just a little history behind it, because I think it's of particular significance. This Little Light of Mine is more than just a children's song. It is a song of power and hope, which was transformed by our nation's American civil rights movement. When interviewed by NPR, National Public Radio that is, a former freedom singer by the name of Ruthie Mae Harris said, "You can't just sing This Little Light of Mine. You have to shout it out." It kept us from being afraid. We start singing a song and somehow those billy clubs would not hit you. It played a very important role during the movement. And as the civil rights movement grew in the 1950s and 60s, singers changed the lyrics to reference their struggles. These new versions were known as what we say freedom songs. And if you ask some of the survivors of the civil rights movement, survivors who sang the songs for the protection and courage, why This Little Light of Mine survives and is still sung, they would look at you straight in the eye and say, because these songs are anointed. It's obvious this American anthem sparks a feeling which made so many who sing it feel a little less alone and a little more free, which probably explains the enduring power of This Little Light of Mine better than any other reason. So now we will open with This Little Light of Mine, being sung by our Colorado Heritage Community Choir, led by Miss Madeline Woodley, the director. Thank you.
Everybody, come on, stand to your feet and say, this little light. Come on, stand up and say, this little light. I'm gonna let it shine. Come on, testify and say, this little light. Oh, yeah. Oh, this. Yeah, I'm gonna let it shine. Here we go. Let it shine. Let it shine. Oh, let it shine. Let it shine. Yes, let it shine. Let it shine. Let it shine.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming out to help us with this celebration. And it's a pleasure to be here. My name is Gary Jefferson. I'm pastor of Front Range Christian Fellowship here in Longmont. And we're one of those churches that really praises the Lord, for He is good. And we need Him more now than we ever have. Even as we take this time today, we reflect back on years that have gone by and look toward the future for what it truly might mean in our lives. We give God thanks. And I came up here to tell you this morning that don't forget God when things get better for you. Remember the life of Dr. Martin Luther King and what he stood for, and the fact that he helped so many people, not just black people, but people in general. And I praise the Lord for sending somebody like him. He was kind of like Paul, born out of due time, because he was so powerful, and yet those people did not see who he really was. But I didn't come here to preach, I come here to give you this prayer. Let me read something out of Psalm 67. May God be gracious to us and bless us and make his face shine upon us, that our ways may be known on earth, your salvation among all nations. May the peoples praise you, O God. May all the peoples praise you. May the nations be glad and sing for joy, for you rule the people justly. And guide the nations of this earth. May the people praise you, O God. May all the peoples praise you. Then the land will yield its harvest, and God, our God, will bless us. God will bless us, and all the ends of the earth will fear him. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we come before you just now, as humble as we know how. And we come praising your righteous and your holy name, because we know, Lord, that you have truly blessed us. We have favor that we don't deserve, and we give you all the honor and all the glory. We ask, Lord, that you touch every heart in this house this morning. Oh, Lord, that there's something that we can do that will bring, that will be pleasing in your sight. We ask, oh, Heavenly Father, that you bring us together, as a nation, as people. And mainly, oh, Lord, may we just look to you for all things and lean not to our own understanding. We give you praise, we give you honor, we give you glory. Bless this effort that we do here today, Lord, that it will not only honor you, but honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Thank you, Lord, for loving us. Thank you for inviting us to this
gentlemen, I'd like to welcome you kindly to Silver Creek High School here to the St. Vrain Valley School District. 2019 marks the 51st year since Martin Luther King Jr.'s untimely death. His, a life of justice, of peace, of family, and of dignity for oneself and for all that carried the dream forth in his footsteps. Dr. King left us with work yet to do, but with a roadmap of how to get there. We began this event in 2012 here at Silver Creek and with our partners from the Longmont Multicultural Action Committee as a way for our community to come together, share in the beauty that is all of our cultures here at Longmont, and in the contributions that we all make to create a better community and a better world. As a young man, I had incredible parents who embraced equality, and they treated me to the beauty of all cultures. My dear mother and father always had an open door and an open table at our house. One of the most beautiful things we did as a family was to break bread with our neighbors from many cultures. We would share in potlucks, our neighborhood. It was quite the salad bowl. Dinners spent with our friends from Greece who had opened the first restaurant there in St. Louis to celebrate their culture. Sunday evenings on the back patio with our neighbors from Iran, sharing hummus and laughs, latkes with my dear friend Jeremy and the sharing of Jewish holidays, tandoori chicken with one of the first families moving to the neighborhood from India, fresh tamales from my friends and my family that had come to us from Mexico, Korean noodles from my best friend Jeremy and his mother, and of course my sisters and my own friends who were from every conceivable race, religion, sexual orientation, and background. They were always welcome in our home, and we were welcome in theirs. Ours was a vibrant community, and at the time, I just thought this was what growing up was about. I knew no different. This is what my experience was. I was oblivious to his dream at a young age, but here I was, a young boy living it and following in these footsteps. Our table in our home, in the Finnestead household, was one in which all were invited, and likewise, we were invited into the homes of our friends as well. Our parents are our first teachers, and I had some very good teachers. Like Dr. King's mother, my mother was a school teacher as well, and a community leader at that. My father, a coach to so many, and even at 82 years old, he still coached, putting countless kids and giving them opportunities beyond that of our community. They taught me that a community and joining together, whether it be at the table, on the ball fields, in song together, and raising our families together to love one another, it serves as my moral compass to this day. This idea of community is why Silver Creek and the greater community, we work hand in hand on so many different initiatives that positively impact kids, adults, our elders, our kids at Silver Creek, and within the many leadership organizations that we are home to here are to be commended for their efforts as they impact those around them. And they support nonprofit organizations throughout Longmont, but not only Longmont, throughout the world. We work with international governmental organizations. Our kids lead capstone projects. They raise funds to cure cancer. They spend time at Children's Hospital. They contribute to microeconomies and communities of developing nations. They provide for communities who have been impacted by natural disasters, both here and abroad. They work with English language learners in our own community. They mentor middle school and elementary school children. They provide athletic opportunities to populations who may not have otherwise had that opportunity to begin with. They sponsor STEM camps for young women, and these are just but a few. Every year, our kids are going further in their studies, as well as they're going further in their leadership. Their impact is being felt within our community as it is across the world. They truly are living up to the idea of all cultures and one voice. A voice of opportunity, a voice of empowerment, and that of a better world. I believe Dr. King would be very happy, and he would enjoy seeing the impacts that our young people are making today and following in his footsteps. And now these kids, they serve to inspire me. And we work towards that mountaintop, all of us together. And I firmly believe that the journey that we've all been on is positively impacting gentlemen, it's a great day. Not only because we didn't have snow today, but it's a great day to celebrate Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And I'm so appreciative that all of you are here. This event could not be made possible without the support of a few members. First and foremost, let me recognize the driving force behind the organization of this event. Ms. Madeline Woodley and Ms. Glenda Robinson, I'd like to thank you both as you serve as a guiding light to many in this community and beyond. Your positive impacts are testament to your steadfast commitment to supporting the dream. Thank you very much. I'd also like to thank a few more. Dr. Richard Martyr, who serves as a St. Brendan Valley School Board of Education official, is here joining us today, supporting of our event here. I'd like to thank you, Dr. Martyr, for joining us. Through the city of Longmont, we've had the privilege of working with Carmen Ramirez and Adriana Correa. Thank you for helping to build. Thank you both for helping to build an inclusive community. I'd also like to thank our city council for upholding that we do all belong in Longmont, and their support of so many culturally enriching festivals and events that we have throughout our city. Councilmember Aaron Rodriguez, Holly Christensen, Tim Waters, Joan Peck, Bonnie Finley, Marsha Martin, and Mayor Brian Bagley. Won't you please be Let us also give thanks to the beautiful choir that we have today, the Colorado Heritage Community Choir, which is a collaboration of many choirs throughout the Boulder Valley and St. Vrain Valley, as well as along the Front Range. To the Longmont Multicultural Action Committee for their work in creating the beautiful symphony of events that we have here. Certainly thanks to all of our volunteers today, including Blake Harris of the Silver Creek Leadership Academy and Jenny Diaz with Longmont Youth assisting with our child care. I'd also like to thank all of our performers. Yes. Our performers today, Baez Davey Tierra, Reverend Gary Jefferson, Dr. Elmella Sparks and Mojo, Mr. Johnny Terrell, Mr. Jeremy Skelton, making sure our sound and light are good. And thank you to our friends at the Longmont Police Department who are here today serving on behalf of us all. To our partners at Lexmark, as well as Dr. Michael Williams, thank you for making today a success. Thank you very much for listening. A few years ago, I had the privilege of hearing the first-hand experience and stories of the Civil Rights Movement from Strider, Arkansas, Benston. A living legend in our community, ladies and gentlemen, who was part of the Civil Rights Movement himself. I'd like to thank him for keeping this dream alive. And lastly, once again, let me thank all of you for being here today, for taking time out of your busy schedules, your lives, to join with us, to support that dream, and to continue forging a community that's going to be better for our children, be better for ourselves, and sing in unity of all cultures in one voice. Once again, welcome to Silver Creek, and I hope that you enjoy the show and you go forth and lead as Dr. King has.
I'm not sure if I was supposed to be introduced, but maybe no one was up here, so. My name is Brian Bagley, I'm the mayor of Longmont. Before I read the proclamation, I've actually got two proclamations. I'm not going to read them both, but I am going to read both paragraphs that are different
Because one of the beautiful things about mayoral proclamations is theoretically I can say whatever I want. Doesn't mean I'm not going to get in trouble. But there are several people who every year I'm just so impressed by the work they do. They should be recognized. Before this, I just have a few things before I read the proclamation. I think it needs to be said that the history of slavery and the genocide that occurred in our nation with the Native people are dark chapters of our history. And my wife, who was a lovely, lovely person and couldn't make it today, always says, you cannot fix that which you do not acknowledge. And so, and I've just been amazed the last couple of years at what seems to be just huge steps back. Republicans hate Democrats, Democrats hate Republicans, minorities hate whites, whites hate minorities. Not everybody. But this week especially, you turn on the news and it's just everywhere. But I'd like to share a message. I've had the opportunity to get to know someone by the name of Crawford. His name's Crawford White Eagle. Crawford White Eagle is one of the, he's not a chief, he calls himself one of the 4 old men, but he's the equivalent of chief in the Northern Arapaho tribe. I got a call from Mr. White Eagle. He says, I've got to give the opening ceremony at the National Congress of American Indians down in Denver. He said, Brian, I'd like you to come up and get me and take me down. I said, all right, Crawford, I'm with you. So I picked him up and we drove down. He lives up on the Wind River Reservation up in Wyoming. And it's a pleasure whenever he comes by and stays at my house because he's full of wisdom. And we're driving down to Denver and we get there and I'm sitting in the audience. He says, okay. I said, what do you mean okay? He's like, you're going to walk me to the stage. I was the only white boy there. I said, you sure? He says, yes, I'd be honored, please. And I go, all right. So I walked him up. I'm in my suit and tie. Others are in their traditional gear. And it was just a surreal experience. And he stood up and he gave a simple message. I remember thinking to myself, oh, that's a simple message. And then the thought I had was, I guess it's a simple message because we still, as humans, have yet to start living the lesson. And the message he shared was, be kind to one another. Dramatic pause. Love one another. We are fighting among ourselves when we should be unified. That was it. And he came back and I took him by the arm, and he's old, so I helped him walk off the stage, and I found those words to be very wise. And so the proclamation I'm going to read today, again, I believe that we're going to be reading the second one. We're going to be redoing it because Eric Feinstead, where are you? You just spoke up here. But the city owes you a debt of gratitude for all the work you do every year to put this on. And someone told me, is this the last year you're planning on doing this? Somebody said that. All right, I hope that's not true. Because I just hope that's not true. Somebody said, is it true? I hope that's not true. This should continue. All right. Proclamation designating January 24th, a proclamation designating January 14th to 21st, 2019 is All Cultures One Voice Week in Longmont, Colorado. Whereas January 21st, 2019 marks the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday, on which we honor Dr. King's unwavering fight for the absence of oppression and the presence of opportunity for all, who sacrificed to sow the seeds for a movement of peace, equality, and justice. And whereas across the nation, the state and the city of Longmont, honoring Dr. King has become a day of service to our communities. Events held in Longmont beginning on January 21st are made possible by many designated volunteers from diverse backgrounds coming together to share the importance of the civil rights movement and the need to take action. And whereas this will be a week of celebration, tribute, education, service, and solidarity, an opportunity for the community to come together to commemorate the life, work, and legacy of Dr. King, and to promote a caring and inclusive community that is proud to embrace, respect, and celebrate each other, And whereas we are also honoring Mr. Eric Feinstead for his unwavering support and commitment in sharing the importance of the civil rights movement, Dr. King's legacy, and keeping the dream alive for future generations in Longmont. Now I get to add another paragraph. Whereas Mrs. Glenda Robinson and Mrs. Madeline Woodley are also commended and recognized for their passion and commitment in sharing the importance of the civil rights movement, Dr. King's legacy, and for keeping the dream alive for future generations in Longmont. Now, therefore, I, Brian J. Bagley, Mayor, by virtue of the authority vested in me and the City Council of the City of Longmont, do hereby proclaim the week of January 14th through 21st, 2019 as All Cultures, One Voice Week, honoring Dr. King through community involvement in Longmont, and I hereby invite all to attend one or all of the events honoring Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Signed, the Mayor. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Good morning, good morning. The song we're going to sing right now, I want you all to participate with us. It's a song about endurance, a song about preservation, a song about determination. And we're going to not let nothing turn us around. I want you to look at somebody this morning and say, I ain't going to let nobody turn me around. Tell somebody that. Say, I ain't going to let nobody. Oh, I can't hear you. That's the wrong name. Find somebody else and say, I ain't going to let nobody turn me around. If you don't mind, you can stand with us and sing the song. Keep on walking, keep on talking.
Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Turn me around. Oh, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. We gotta keep on walking, keep on talking, marching on the freedom flag. Ain't gonna let segregation turn me around. Oh, turn me around. Turn me around. Ain't gonna let segregation turn me around. We gotta keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom flag. Ain't gonna let no hate turn me around. Well, turn me around. Oh, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no hate turn me around. We gotta keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom flag. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Well, turn me around. Oh, turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. We gotta keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up the freedom flag.
Yeah, ain't gonna let nobody.
Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, 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 marching up to freedom land.
another hand for our Colorado Heritage Community Choir. Certainly a song of resolve, commitment, and dedication. With that being said, we now are going to, I see we have here solidarity and service. And I'm going to ask that some members from the Longmont Multicultural Action Committee come up. But before I do that, I have a couple things I just wanted to say. Now, Dr. Martin Luther King once said, everybody can be great because everybody can serve. And you don't have to have a college degree to serve. You don't have to make your subject and verbs agree to serve. Well, that one, I was really happy to read that. You only need a heart full of grace, a soul generated by love. Martin Luther King also said to an audience in Montgomery, Alabama in 1957, that life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you going to do for others? In the spirit of service, we thank those who came out this morning to work. Well, in the spirit of service, we just thank all of you for coming out. And for those of you who are being affected by this in some sort of way, so in other words, if this is becoming meaningful for you to the point where that it's inspiring you to go and do something, to take on greater projects in the name of Dr. Martin Luther King, well then God bless you. And in fact, that's one of the reasons why we're here today. But in the spirit of solidarity, I now want to welcome the leadership of the Longmont Multicultural Action Committee. And then after that, and I have here that we have Mrs. Carmen Ramirez from the city of Longmont, Mr. Sam Safey, who's a past chair of the LMAC, and then we also have Ms. Carla Stein. They will be followed by the Belas de Matera dancers from the Senior Center here in the city of Longmont, who will pay tribute through dance. And then they will be followed by, it looks like, well, we had a program change, so I'm going to attribute these adjectives to our dancers. We are going to be entertained by the dynamic, delightful, fabulous, harmonious, wonderfully talented Belas de Matera dancers. How's that sound? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Buenos días. Mi nombre es Carmen Ramirez. My name is Carmen Ramirez. I have the pleasure of having been part of LMAC for well over 15 years. If you don't know what that means, it's the Longmont Multicultural Action Committee. So I want to share a few words with you. But the reason I'm up here is to talk about solidarity and service. And how do we do that? We do that in small ways and big ways. In Longmont, we have been honoring Dr. King for over 15 years. And as the mayor said, we don't want to stop, but we need your help. The Dr. King celebration has grown because of the ongoing courage, love, and leadership of some of our Longmont community members. It started with a small group at the Civic Center Plaza, led by Glenda Robinson. We were out there freezing, holding each other. Later, Madeline Woodby would join us to grow it into a joyous celebration in the council chambers. And then it got so big that the council kicked us out. And later, Eric Finisted and Carrie Adams would welcome us to create a home here at Silver Creek High School. Along the way, hundreds of folks have contributed to the celebration, as you see and enjoy the treats that Lexmark has given us. But I want to talk about one other thing, one big benefit. The students that have been part of this, I believe, have benefited by hearing history from those people that lived it. A couple of years ago, we had a couple of trailblazers. Dr. Nyland's wife and Mrs. Tate. For these students to meet people that lived it, that understood what justice was and what it meant to fight on a daily basis, I think even now, today is more important than any other time. To teach that true history, to show our students that we are people of all colors, of all races, of all ethnicities, is something that has to happen on a one-to-one. And we provide this opportunity here. Dr. King had faith that it was possible to build a beloved community. For over 15 years, the Longmont Multicultural Action Community has contributed to action that builds on a vision, which is the people of Longmont working together to be a caring and inclusive community, proud to embrace, respect, and celebrate each other. I'm going to say that one more time. The people of Longmont working together to be a caring and inclusive community, proud to embrace, respect, and celebrate each other. So I've got a few more words, but before that, I want to ask a few people to come on stage here. So I would like to ask Glenda Robinson, Madeline Woodley, Adriana Pereira, Karen Roney, Eric Finestead, Carla, are you here? And Lance with Lexmark. So again, Glenda Robinson, Madeline Woodley, Adriana Pereira, Karen Roney, Eric Finestead, Carla Stein if you're here, Lance with Lexmark. I want to have these people stand here, and I figured that something very simple as a rose to say thank you, as a rose to say thank you. Where's Madeline? Where'd she go? To say thank you and to express our gratitude of being a supporter of this. It's also another way to show that we have generation after generation that we're passing this on. So, as I said, what's been key over the years is supporting new leaders in succession. Over the years, many people have contributed to the Longmont Multicultural Action vision and building community right here in Longmont. This year, we want to thank Sam Safey, who was serving as our chair, and we congratulate Carla Stein, who is our 2019 chair. I am grateful to have been a supporter in this effort and want to encourage us all to take action to build community and help support leaders that do this on a daily basis. With that in mind, I want to say thank you to these community leaders that are up here up front with us. And it seems like a very simple thing to say thank you for what you do. There's one other person I want to bring up here, and that's Brian Bagwell.
Up there?
Yeah. He gets a rose that he can think for his lovely wife. But it is leadership like this that allows us to build community. Each one contributing. Lexmark contributes those beautiful folders and food that they've given to us. And it takes very little to say, are you willing to do this again? And they're like, yes. So that's really important. The mayor talked to you a little bit about Crawford, who is an elder with the Northern Arapaho. And I think over this last year or so, the mayor has had an opportunity to sit down and have conversations and coffee with folks that typically may not have been at his table. And I think that just by sharing food, sharing heart conversations, we build community. For that, I want to thank everybody up
talk them into letting me join it, but they couldn't find a dress to fit me. But that's okay. We'll figure it out next year. Something I also wanted to bring to your attention as it relates to, so let's again give another round of applause for our Baylor Steve Theater dancers. And for your information, the Baylor Steve Theater dancers is a volunteer Mexican folklore dance group from the Longmont Senior Center. The volunteer dancers are from many different parts of the world. They love to promote cultural diversity. They also want to inspire our young people that diversity is a way of life and that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream will never die. I think I couldn't have said it better. Let's give them a round of applause. So now we have our Colorado Heritage Community Choir making their way back on the stage to render yet another song. Afterwards, then we'll have an introduction to our keynote speaker by Minister Glenda Robinson, a civil rights activist and also a member of the LMAC committee and co-chair. And then followed by her, we will then, well, in fact, I'll just be quiet. It's kind of, I'm a Baptist preacher, and sometimes I just don't know that. Shut up. We'll just keep you in suspense.
another hand. I'm excited about this choir. Our goal is 100 voices from all faiths, from the community, from everywhere. It's togetherness. You know, Helen Keller was blind, and she said, together we can do more. Right? Together we can do more. I am Glenda Strong Robinson. It's my esteemed honor to stand before you this morning and introduce our speaker of the hour. The Reverend Dr. Almela Y. Starks Moshe is an ordained elder in the African Methodist Episcopal Church, or AMEC, and has served as a pastor of several churches in that denomination. She is a native of Memphis, Tennessee, and a graduate of the University of Memphis and Memphis Theological Seminary, where her father, Reverend Dr. Henry Logan Starks, has a wing named after him in that honor. She received her Doctor of Ministry degree from McCormick Theological Seminary in Chicago, Illinois. Her passion for social justice began as a teenager when with her family. She supported the Memphis sanitation strike, as did I. She continues to pursue the passion of this as an active member right now of the lynching site project of Shelby County, Tennessee. She is a charter member of the Dr. Henry Logan Starks Scholarship Awards Ceremony and the Starks Institute for Faith, Race, and Social Justice. She's a graduate of Leadership Memphis and a Golden Life member of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Inc. And on a personal note, my family is the Strong family. Her family is the Starks family. And we've been intertwined since she was a child. So lovingly, I introduce to you and I give you a big Longmont, Colorado welcome and want you to give Dr. Almela a big, warm Longmont, Colorado welcome to Longmont. And this hour, she is our speaker of the hour.
For that introduction. And as she said, our families are intertwined. Our fathers were foot soldiers in the pursuit of civil rights and social justice. And if you should ever go to the states of Tennessee, Georgia, Kentucky, and just mention the Strong name, you will find that they are pioneers in the areas of education, the legal field, journalism, great preachers, musicians. They are indeed pioneers, they are leaders, they are still carrying that spirit on here in Colorado. It's in their DNA. It is in their DNA, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Today, I'd like to share with you some information about a community on the move to equality. Glenn asked me to come and share some information about my father and what I did in the sanitation strike in particular. And I'm very happy about that because, and I say this reluctantly, because we are a dying breed. 50 years ago, there were those of us who were teenagers at that time, but the leaders, as the group who were 30 years old, 40 years old, they have left us. And those of us who still know the story, we're obligated to share it, and we hope that you will also share. Now, like I told you, I'm a preacher, so I expect for somebody to say amen. Do I need to give you all a clue? Like, amen? I want to talk to you. One thing about it, if I look up there and say amen, it's not that I'm looking for Jesus or anything like that. I am communicating with our audio-visual person. Glenda talked about this moment yesterday. The sanitation strike started basically with the death of, on February 1st, the death of Robert Walker and Ecole Cole. Now, these are not these gentlemen here, but this is just to give you an idea of how things were in the sanitation department. This was the sanitation truck that they had. And on raining days, it would have been okay for the white drivers to get out and take cover, but the black employees could not do so. And therefore, in order to stay as dry as you possibly could, they would take cover on the inside of the truck, as you can see there. These trucks didn't have good maintenance. They weren't cleaned a lot. So the gentlemen really had to deal with being covered with debris. They had to deal with rats and rodents. And it was a very difficult job. And what happened on February 1968, the driver was driving through an area in East Memphis, and he noticed all of a sudden that the hydraulics were operating in the back of the truck, and that should not have taken place. And when he got out of the truck, he went to the back of the truck and he discovered that the top had come down and the bodies of both Ecole Cole and Robert Walker were crushed with the garbage that was in the truck. That was pretty much the start of the problems that we had in Memphis. If I can get the next slide. Y'all can say amen. That happened on February 1st. On February 2nd, the newspaper came out. And the headlines on February 2nd, first of all, because we were engaged in the Vietnam War, the headlines were our invasion in Ho Chi Minh. The second headline, the local headline, was that Elvis Presley's Rockabilly album had indeed inched up on the charts for Billboard. The third headline was the weather report. And in a very small column, there was a report these two men who were crushed and killed in the sanitation truck. And the main issue was not their death, but the main issue was the malfunction of the truck and to assure Memphians that the truck would be fixed. Thank you. This is a letter that Mayor Lowe wrote to one of the widows. Both of these ladies were widowed. I'm not going to try to read that, but it gives you an idea. What the mayor has said in this letter is, we're so sorry. Again, that's how the accident had never taken place. We're so sorry. If there's anything that the city can do for you, please call us and we'll be happy to do so. They never did. The city gave those widows $500, which was equal to 1 month's pay. And that was all they received. This is an example of what the pay scale was for sanitation work. And as you can see, this person worked 90 hours and their pay was $137.13. You see that 90 cents for charity, that was a requirement. I don't know if any of you are old enough, you don't have to raise your hand. But there was a time when I started working that you were required to donate to the United Way. And this is what that 90 cents charity represents. 84 cents in life insurance. And so you can see that these two gentlemen didn't have any life insurance at all. So the workers got together and they had a request, and these were the things that they requested, that there's a simple increase from, you can see, from $1.80 to $2.35. That's for the workers. And then you have the crew chiefs, and these were people who were primarily the drivers, and they were asking for a lot for increase. That they would have payroll collection of union dues by check-off, formal written grievance procedures, recognition of the union as a bargaining agent for the employees, safety programs, and a departmental newsletter so people would know what's going on. I think these are rather simple requests. There you go. Thank you. But on February 12th, which was Lincoln's birthday, after making these requests, one of the things I want to tell you is that New York City sanitation workers were on strike during this same period of time. And the New York City escalation and the program that was going on, it was reported in the paper every day. But the Memphis problem with our sanitation workers, up until even this date, no one noticed it. It wasn't reported in the strike. It was pretty much ignored. And these gentlemen had to undergo significant hardship in the dead of winter. Thank you. This is See, that's his clue too. You all say, man, he's going to. So, as a result of that, the strike was initiated. This is one of the things that I want us all to embrace. The slogan or the motto is, I am a man. And one of the things that I hope that we will be very conscious of is that we won't use the term garbage man. These were gentlemen. Dr. King said that all labor has dignity. And these were gentlemen who were employed by the Public Works Department, and they were sanitation workers who needed to and insisted on being affirmed, I am a man. I'm not a garbage man. I am a man.
Go ahead.
They began to march, and all of the marches were peaceful until February 23rd. The Memphis police attacked the strikers with mace during a march on Main Street. There had been no violence. It was just one of those situations where the police, I don't know if they wanted to try out the mace or what. But that's what they did. They attacked the strikers. You don't have to say amen on that one. And this is another picture of what was happening on Main Street, where the police are just attacking the strikers. If you have a chance to read it, there are horrible stories associated with the violence that was instituted by the police. Again, you don't have to say that. February 24th, right after that, an organization was established by the black ministers in Memphis. And this organization, Community on the Move for Equality, COM is the acronym. And one of the things that they recognize is that the sanitation workers could march every day for 24 hours until they dropped and nothing would change. That in order to have change, it had to be a community effort. It had to extend beyond this one group of people. And so this organization was created, and because it was the church that was involved, they were organized out of the church. And one of the things about the black church is that in the black church, many, I think you said, you don't have to worry about your grammar so much all the time. You don't have to worry about your education. The black church will recognize its ministers. So in my church, there were several ministers who were officers, who were on the ministerial staff, who were sanitation workers as well. And our church came together to affirm them, to assist them, because we knew that they could not do it by themselves. So February 24th, this organization was founded, and that is my father there. And one of the things, even though you hear the word sanitation strike, the movement was better pay, better jobs today. The name of the movement was Jobs for Justice, because they recognized that in Memphis, Tennessee, it was not only the sanitation workers who were economically disparaged, it was all black people in the city. And so they created a strategy, and this is a newspaper that they had every day. But they created a strategy, and the strategy was, we need you. And I don't know why I didn't bring my eyeglasses. That wasn't smart. But anyway, strategy number one was do not shop at downtown or downtown branches of stores anywhere in the city. Oh, thank you. Hallelujah. Anywhere in the city or with any enterprise named Lowe. Now, the importance of not shopping at downtown locations in terms of jobs, at that time, black people only had one of 3 jobs in a major department store. Either you worked in the layaway, which was way in the back and nobody could see you, or you worked in the linen department where they sold sheets and towels, or you had this strange job that I had never understood. You know, Glenda and Madeline, it took me a while to know that we could go in the white folks' bathroom. The rules had changed, but if you have lived a life of what I call civil rights kidneys, does anybody know what civil rights kidneys are? Those are the kidneys that your parents tell you, use the bathroom before you leave home because you are not going to go into the colored bathroom. And so for years, I never went in the bathroom, and I had to go one day in Goldsmith, which is now Macy's. And when I went there, there was this lady standing there with a wonderful starched gray uniform. And there was this tray on the basin, and I didn't know what to do. I had never seen anyone called what I now know is a bathroom attendant. I hadn't seen that before. And I had to wait until somebody else used the bathroom for me to know what to do. That you put a quarter in the saucer, you stand there with your hand open like this, and they squirt the lotion. I know many of you are saying, well, yeah, they do that all the time here or hotel. But the mayor's family owned a franchise laundry facilities and barbecue facilities. And this strike was so effective until it ruined his family's business. Amen. Oh, no, go back. I'm still doing it.
Microphone, please.
I didn't hear you.
Microphone.
Oh, okay. There's mine. All right, then. Now this is the, I didn't think I was going to move around. This second part strategy was the one that made me so mad. Stop your, no, it's number 2, stop your subscription for daily newspapers. Number 3 got on my nerves. Do not buy new things for Easter. Keep in mind, I am turning 16. I am finally getting to the point where my mother's not buying my clothes. I got my Easter suit in the layaway at Lerman's. And my father, who wrote these strategies, a Methodist minister who wore nothing but a black suit, a black tie, black shoes, and a white shirt, had the audacity to tell people don't buy any clothes for Easter. I showed up at church on Easter Sunday with fear and trembling. But nobody in our church had bought new clothes for Easter. Our community was just that united. We had the daily marches, we went to City Hall, we had the nightly rallies, and just like you all, we had community choirs. And the community choirs were teenagers. It made no sense, but we practiced every night. We practiced songs like you all were singing, and even though you've done a great job, I don't think you all needed to practice every day. But the good thing about practicing every day, it was a fellowship for us. The community, young high school students from all over the city got together. The next thing you will see, do not place your garbage at the curb. There were some workers, not sanitation workers, but some people who came in to pick up the trash and the garbage. And we were trying to make it inconvenient for them. So rather than putting it on the curb, we put it way, way, way back so they have to walk and carry the tubs. The other thing is the relief efforts for workers and their families to provide money and food. And I tell you, we're seeing a lot of that this week, this month. And again, the churches are going to be the ones who will need to step in and provide support. Amen? Now that was this was an example of Goldsmith. This was one of the stores that I talked about that we couldn't buy. That's where I could go away just about. This was one of the placards. Stay away, shopping today. Oh, go back. Okay, we're missing one. Go back one. Well, okay, keep going. Keep going forward. Maybe I'm confused. Another, stop right there. Let's go back to Hamburg. Remember one of the, I think you need to go forward. That's it, stop. One of the things was that you would not buy the newspaper. Pay your carrier, but don't buy the newspaper. And why we wouldn't buy the newspaper is that the only time black people were in the newspaper would be to show a sports event, an entertainer, but every day there was this cartoon character on the first page of Section B named Hambone. And Hambone had these meditations that were written in a dialect. They were all degrading. And it was heartbreaking that that's the only representation that you see of the black community on a daily basis. After the strike, Hambone was discontinued. Amen. And we began to see black people in the stores. I remember the first time I saw a black person behind the Estee Lauder counter. I wasn't going to buy an Estee Lauder, but I just stood there for a long time because we were happy. And that was part, again, it was not just a sanitation strike, but it was a community effort because we all needed to have jobs, we all needed representation. You can go on to the next email. This is Lowe's Laundry. Now let me tell you a story about this. This is a picture that was taken in my neighborhood. There was a strike, a curfew that was put in place, and everyone had to be off the street. Everyone in the South Memphis or the North Memphis or the black neighborhood had to be off the street by 7 o'clock, and the National Guard would go ahead and look through your neighborhood to make sure you weren't out there anywhere. Quick story, I went to those cleaners, and they had this new machine that was a coin-operated dry cleaning machine. Now, I should have known that made no sense at all. I should have known that you couldn't put $1 in quarters and get your clothes dry cleaned. And it did not work. And it kept going. It would not stop. And I was just so afraid because I was stuck in the cleaners. And you can imagine no cell phones in these days. And I was stuck in the cleaners. And the only thing I could do when I saw the guard come around was to hide and hope that they wouldn't see me. And they did, amen. Now that's it. This is an example of how we would collect money at the mass rallies that they were collected in the Harbor Street. Amen?
Yeah.
On March 11th, and I want you to keep in mind that the community effort is expanding. And on March 11th, we began, and this was not my father's strategy, we did participate. The NAACP began what they called Black Mondays. And on Mondays, all the black students did not attend class. It may sound like a fun thing to do, but I assure you on that Tuesday, you wish you would have been at school. But this had the impact of showing the education, the Board of Education, the influence, how much money they were getting from the black community. As a result of this, we began to see African Americans on the school board, represented in professional position, and that was one play, man. Okay, this was the first time, March 18th, that Dr. King came to Mason Temple, Church of God in Christ, to encourage everyone, the entire community. There were over 17,000 people there that night. And this was the announcement that on Friday, March 22nd, Dr. King had said, we will have a citywide protest movement. And we were going to march, and those are the marching instructions of how we were going to get from Cleveland Temple to City Hall. Amen. This is what it looked like on March 22nd. 16.5 inches of snow. That had never happened, and it hasn't happened since. Now let's say amen.
Wow.
Here, the march is rescheduled for March the 28th. And the blue arrow points to my dad. So we see Dr. King beginning the march. Everyone is excited. Then what happens, we can go to the next one. We begin to see that something is amiss. You're going to see, now who was okay, sit down. You can see that something is amiss, and he's pushing people out of, his name is Orange, he's pushing people out of the way, and you can see there is a different look on Dr. King's face. Amen? Is that right? You all can't hear me? Okay. Okay. I'm getting ready. Do you think I need to do a scripture or something? Just keep going. Okay. With this one, do you see the anxiety that's on Dr. King's face? Because I don't know what my father is hollering back there, but it's getting to be really bad. Let's go to the next one. This is the point that the glass is broken. And you can see the fear. My father is pushing Dr. King out of the way. It is at this point you smell nothing but mace throughout the city. I think you were a part of that. And when we went for comfort in Cleveland Temple Church, the police came in the church, and again, they maced the church. Don't say amen. That was the day of the riot that glass broke. And this policeman, Leslie Dean Jones, you see him beating up this young man. Larry Payne is on the other end. And before the day is over, Larry Payne is going to be killed. That is one of the things that many people don't know about this period of time, that the first casualty The first person that was killed was a 16-year-old named Larry Payne. This is on Beale Street, downtown, and he is killed in South Memphis, about 10 miles away, that he has been pursued by this police officer and has been killed in a totally different location. We can go to the next one. This is his funeral. Over 700 people attended his funeral. Dr. King told his mother that he would come and see her when he came back to Memphis. And this is what his mother said. I ran out there and tried to get him after the shooting. The police put the gun on me and said, get back. I said, that's my boy. And they wouldn't let me get near him. This was just like the Michael Brown situation in Ferguson, that this boy's body just laid there on the ground for hours. And then the National Guard comes, and we continue to march. Do you notice something interesting about those guns? They're bayonets. And it's one thing to know you're going to be shot, but it's another thing to know you're going to be shot and then somebody's going to rush in on you and I guess make sure you did. Let's go ahead. This is what we had in the neighborhood, going down the streets. National Guards with guns with bayonets, the tanks. It was a very frightening time for our community. And everyone knows what this picture is. This is a picture of the day of the assassination that takes place outside of the Lorraine Motel. After the assassination, the union voted to end the strike. But Bill Lucy, who was the international secretary for AFSCME, told no, and you can see that look of despair. Told them, no, let's just keep going. And that's what they did. They continued to go. On this day, 300 Memphis clergy met with Mayor Lowe, Rabbi Wax, and again, we're talking about a community. We have a father there who's Protestant. You see the Greek Orthodox community. There are Muslims there. They are all together trying to convince this mayor that we need to end this, that there are laws of God that require, we know that scripture. What does God require? God requires justice. He requires mercy. He requires that we walk humbly before him. And this mayor was not hearing any of it. President Johnson wanted to send some people there to help the negotiations, but he refused to see them. Well, we don't have to say amen on this. And that was when Mrs. King came to the city to complete the march that Dr. King had planned on making. Over 20,000 people were there for that. It was called the March of Silence. And if you can imagine 20,000 people walking through a city and the only thing you hear would be footsteps. It was a very powerful moment. A lot of people, this is another example of one of those strong things. Madeline Strong knows this family very well, the Cloud family. A lot of people, you would think that after the assassination of Dr. King, after Mrs. King comes, and after a march of over 20,000 people, you would think that we would be able to settle the strike. But what happened, Memphis never settled the sanitation strike. And it wasn't until this gentleman, A. Plow, some of you may know the drug company Shearing Plow, he agreed to write a check himself to pay the money for the settlement of the sanitation strike, on the condition that no one would know about it until he died. So it was a person in the community that settled the sanitation strike. Now, we can't say amen. These were the things, the issues that were listed. Pretty much a standard contract. This is the picture of the moment that the vote was taken. All of those in favor of accepting the contract. And you can see these are some very excited people. We were all excited, the entire city. Where do we go from here? This is a picture of what happened in Memphis when the Black Lives Matter group shut down the I-40 bridge from Arkansas coming into Memphis. So this is my point. Our tactics, I told a group last night, I can't march anywhere. They don't let me march with walkers and crutches and things like that. But the young people now, they have more energy and things are taking place organically. They're not waiting for one person to bring the leadership to that location. And in 1968, this is the way our world looked. There were two things. Race, everybody was described in terms of race and sex. For race, and I don't know how they managed to do this, but regardless of who you were either white or Negro. For sex, you were either male or female. And so here we are in 2019, and the races, we're just not clear. People are clear, but there's a self-designation, and we don't have enough terms. We don't have enough descriptions. And the same thing with sex. We may or may not agree with the sex that we were assigned at birth. So what does this mean? This means for the Longmont community, it means that we can't use boxes. We have to destroy the boxes. And once we get rid of the boxes and people are people, then we indeed will accomplish the actions that Dr. King dreamed about. There are so many, amen. Dr. King was a theologian, he was an academic, and there are so many amazing quotes. But I like this one because I like simple stuff. Amen, am I the only one? I really like things that are simple. And this one I really would like for us all to say together. If you can't fly, then run. If you can't run, then walk. If you can't walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, you have to keep moving forward.
How about another hand? it takes a lot to keep me that, engaged, for over like 10 or 15 minutes. But that was very, very educational. And I certainly hope that all of us have gotten something from that. I appreciate this moving the boxes. That is powerful. I mean, that's something that's probably going to resonate with me for a while, removing the boxes. Anyway, I just want to say now, we're kind of at that culminating point where we have the I Have a Dream speech read by Mr. Johnny Terrell. But before I ask him to come up, I just want to say a few things. Nearly 51 years ago, as the culminating address of the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, King demanded the riches of freedom and the security of justice. And today his language of love, nonviolent direct action, and redemption and suffering resonates globally in the millions who stand up for freedom together and elevate democracy to its ideals. Perhaps we should ask ourselves, how do the echoes of King's dream live within us? Next, we have a reading of this iconic and immortal speech read by Mr. Johnny Terrell.
I had to check my watch just to make sure it was still morning. So good morning. It's truly an honor and a privilege to stand before you here. And yes, my name is Johnny Terrell. And so you can see that in the program that was shared. And thank you for that. But what you don't know about me is I am the husband of one wife, and that is Tanya Terrell, who's here with me today, and the father of two daughters. Kai Terrell, who's a sophomore at the University of Colorado at Boulder. I'm very proud of that. I won't sing the fight song right now because I'm a graduate there of UC Boulder. And then my youngest, Nia Terrell, who is an 8th grader in Adams 12 5-star school. I currently serve and humbly serve as the Executive Director of Student Services in the St. Vrain Valley School District. And these next few moments, I wanted to, before we get into the reading of the speech, and like a good Baptist preacher, which I am not, if you were to say amen, then I will not keep you long. I heard that amen, right? So I was asked to read the speech that was read and communicated some nearly 56 years ago. I think the exact date was August 28, 1963. And as I was asked, being the extroverted introvert that I am, I know anything about that, I get energy from being alone. Only child, had a brother early on, passed on before I came on the scene. But it's truly humbling to be asked to read such an awe-inspiring speech from such an iconic figure. But before I read the speech, I would be remiss if I didn't thank everyone here who made this day possible, who participated in the activities here and planned for the event. Thank you. Lest I forget, I hear that as a common theme. Thank you. Thank you. And I would be, again, remiss if I didn't thank my new brother from another mother, Eric Finestead. Man, he is people talk a good game and talk about service and serving the community. And I saw that in action during one of the planning meetings at every turn. It was there, willing and available to serve and serve the community and make sure this day came off well, and I really appreciate it. So when I asked you to do this, Linda did mention, I think a couple of days ago, hey, it's okay to say a thing or three about what the speech meant to you. And again, theme of not keeping you long here, I want to just say a couple of words before we read the speech. And man, if I didn't recognize iconic figures like Dr. King and realize that these are the shoulders on giants which I stand, I would truly be remiss. It wasn't only people like Dr. King, it was gentlemen men like Ricky Stevenson, who was my middle school teacher, PE teacher, and basketball coach. I was fortunate enough much earlier in my life, to be able to run fast and jump high and play basketball at the University of Colorado at Boulder. That's how I actually got out here and ran. Go Buffs, go Buffs. Did that in the late 80s, early 90s. But when asked to do this, being an extroverted introvert that I am, everything in my body wanted to find an excuse of why not to do this. I say to myself, shame on me. Because when I think about that I have a dream speech and what it means and the words that you're going to soon hear, when I think about that and think about my own life, you're truly looking at a manifestation of Dr. King's dream. How does a young man, I like to still play myself to be a young man, like myself, who was born to an alcoholic father, point man in the Vietnam War, 30 miles east of Turtle, Texas, married to a lovely woman of God, who since changed her name to Ashley Frazier, with 23 brothers and sisters. Yes, 23 brothers and sisters my mom had. Sharecroppers, picked cotton, required 75 pounds before they went to school. Not each, but as a family. That's why they had to have so many kids. That union of those two folks, a shotgun house, again, 30 miles east of Dallas, Texas. My own self, growing up in that area and taking a bath in a number 10 wash tub, those of you who have grown up in those circumstances and situations understand what that is. To now find himself in Longmont, Colorado, of all places, as the executive director of student services. And what that is a wonderful department that provides services to students, all schools in the St. Vrain Valley School District. And what we do, and what we attempt to do, is remove barriers that impede students from being successful, whatever that barrier may be. I say to you today, my friends, even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day, on the red hills of Georgia, sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even in the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin or by the content of their character. I have a dream. I have a dream that one day in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governors having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight. And the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is the faith that I go back to the southward. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with a new meaning. My country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. So let freedom ring from the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire. Let freedom ring from the mighty mountains of New York. Let freedom ring from the heightening Alleghanies of Pennsylvania. Let freedom ring from the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado. Let freedom ring from the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain, Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. When we allow freedom to ring, when we let it ring from every city and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands in singing the words of the old Negro spiritual. Free at last, great God Almighty, we're free at last. I started with lest I forget, and I want to end with lest we forget. Lest we forget. Words to reflect on. Lest we forget, these statistics that I'm about to name will continue to be perpetuated in injustices here in the United States of America. In 2011-12, a higher percentage of black public school students than that of public schools from any other racial ethnicity or group received out-of-school suspensions, 15.4%, despite making up approximately 10% of the population. At grade 12, the white-black achievement gap in reading was larger in 2015 than in 1992. While the Hispanic reading achievement gap in 2015 was not measurably different from the gap in 1992. Nationwide, African American children represent 32% of children who are arrested, 42% of children who are detained, and 52% of children whose cases are judicially waived to criminal court. Though African Americans and Hispanics make up approximately 32% of the U.S. population, they comprise 56% of all incarcerated people in the year 2015. Spending on prisons and jails has increased at triple the rate of spending on pre-K-12 public education in the last 30 years. Lest we forget. That's why days like today are so significant and so important. We could have read the information that was shared today, could have Googled it, found out about it on Facebook, but it's nothing like human connection. People connecting face to face. I learned so much more today from the words of a human being. Continuing to tell the story is a tactic, and it is a start. Telling the stories that we've heard and that we've lived. Advocacy for underrepresented populations must continue without fail. And most importantly, we heard this over and over and over again, love. Love is a tactic. Love is a choice. We all choose to be here today, employing the most powerful tactic that we have at our disposal, and that's love. Extending our hands to one another, sharing with one another, breaking bread with one another, crying when the one we love cries, smiling when the one we love smiles. But we can't do that over social media. We can't do that through the life of those who lived it. We have to make a commitment to gather like this on a yearly basis. So if I'm asked to do this again, I'm here. Whether it be here at the podium or on the backstage emptying trash. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being here. And thank you for continuing the story. Most importantly, thank you for loving each other.
Please stand with us. Let's sing this last song. Let's go sing a little bit of this verse. We just call all. We all need somebody to lean on. You just might have a problem, might have a problem that you understand. Oh, we all need somebody to lean on. Let's say it again, say it. Just call me sister. Just call me sister. Oh, we all need somebody to lean on. You just might have a problem. We all need somebody to lean on. Now grab hands and say we shall overcome. And we shall overcome. We shall. Come on, grab somebody's hand and say. We shall overcome. We are not